and welcome to the Two Dudes Movie Podcast as we bring to you our final post-view of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Or should I say, Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, eh?
Our final time talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier was last week.
Oh, sorry.
Because no more is it
No,
Falcon.
he's not Black Falcon anymore. He's Captain
week,
America.
It is Captain America. He ain't Black Falcon. He ain't Falcon. He ain't the Falcon. Because I guess I
Although
probably should
he
have
always
been
was. He
always was that. He's Captain America, and boy, am I happy. But boy, interestingly enough, the internet isn't.
What?
And
what's wrong with people?
Oh, not most of the internet. Most of the nice internet that I like is all lovely and happy. But there is a faction who have basically outed themselves as pretty much, I can't think of another word other than racists.
Yeah.
In the way they have responded to a black man becoming Captain America. Now, this is twofold. So there's been things like photoshops of Chris Evans over Falcon into that Captain America outfit. There's people saying like, I think I saw something with hashtag not my cap, and then I saw ones of like tweeting Bucky as the true Captain America. I saw one tweet with someone who I don't know if they've actually seen the show saying, I think Sharon Carter should be Captain America. I'm like, she's evil,
yeah,
but cool. Glad you've taken that stance. And then there's also this thing that has emerged. So the Rotten Tomatoes for the final episode, not the series as a whole, but the final episode, is currently rotten.
What?
Now, I find this fascinating because no other episode is anywhere close.
Yeah.
And you people will take this in different ways, and I'm taking it as I see it. The fact that we've been able to have Falcon and the Winter Soldier this entire time, and suddenly it becomes Captain America and the reviews just drop, is completely odd to me. More importantly, I'd say what's odder is the fact that this is not the worst episode.
No.
I can 100% say this isn't a perfect series in maybe a television sense to everyone. I can see where people would find flaws and say, well, this episode was boring. But this was the most action-packed, sort of engaging. You have that beautiful speech from Captain America himself.
Here's the thing. I think that's what's done it.
Yes.
I think it's not a case of just a black man being Cap, which is awesome. It's that incredible freaking speech that he does at the end, which is basically just calling out people who are racist.
I think this series, and we went into it, and you can check my receipts. You can go back to our preview, not our post-view, our preview for this series, and I said that if they do not deal with race in this show, I think it just doesn't do anything. I was worried about the balance of tone, that there's all these jokes and gags in the trailer, and I want to personally apologize to everyone on this show for having any doubt in your creative process.
Yeah.
Because this is possibly, and I say this without lightly, possibly my new favorite contribution to the MCU.
This is
not
the first...
movie, not TV, just overall.
Yeah.
I think it's that good, especially in the writing.
Yeah. This is the first time since Endgame, but only the second time watching anything from Marvel where genuinely the reaction I got was to stand up and whoop. Like, I was properly into it. That speech, that everything he was saying there was me. Honestly, I was sat there going, this is everything. This is exactly what they're saying. And as much as it's out of our current context, everything he was saying, it's like Watchmen. Everything that was being said, although it was in a completely different time, a completely different situation, was so relevant, so perfectly put. It's the same, I'd say, it's on the same level as how brilliant the writing was in that WandaVision episode where he says, grief is just love persevering. Yeah. I think it's the same level of line, that hits the mark.
It's that line in it for a whole monologue, for a whole speech. And I think, so to me personally, like, I was welling up at this.
Yeah,
what is such a beautiful speech. And the reason I think I found it so poignant is this wasn't written in 2021. No. 2020, sorry. This was written in 2019, probably somewhat written in 2018.
You could tell that by the fact there was a pandemic storyline that they had to cut.
Well, also some people have been saying it wasn't, so I don't even know about that. But that aside, just yes, maybe this has been tweaked or whatever, but the way that scene happens, I do not believe that could have been a reshoot. That could not have been entirely constructed post. I think it might have had more emphasis placed on it now. But the things and the feelings that are present in this show are universal, transcend time. In people say this is a modern thing. This is something that's happening just this year, just last year. No,
this has been happening for years.
This has been going on, and it's time that these sorts of things are acknowledged in the public
media.
Consciousness beyond media. And I think the knee-jerk reaction we've seen against it is in response to the fact that some people aren't ready to deal with that yet.
Yeah, and I think that's ridiculous. I think, honestly, I didn't even realise that people were being so negative, but the only way it could be is they've seen something like that and gone, oh, it's getting preachier. I'm like, guys, like, deal with it. Like, this is the truth. At the end of the day, this is what Captain America has always stood for. This is what he needs to be saying at this point. And he's not saying, oh, black people are so done by. He's saying, now you're in exactly the same position we were always in. And he's making it. He's showing these people that actually what they're doing now is exactly the same as what they've always done, and then using that to motivate these people to do something better. And that's why it matters. Oh, I can't understand people criticising it.
This is. I can understand criticism. I've got nothing against for criticism because there are genuine criticisms in this episode. It doesn't wrap everything up perfectly, but I think to have so many people suddenly turn against this is highly suspicious.
Yeah.
I think to me, Sam Wilson as Captain America, that's Captain America, and I see him more as Captain America than I have ever seen Steve Rogers. Not in terms of like Chris Evans or Anthony Mackie's performance in their parts, but as in the man behind the mask. I see Sam Wilson. He's the man who must be Captain America.
Yeah.
Or the man who must be Captain America now as opposed to 1940. And obviously that speaks to my personal experience.
Well, yeah,
and my
but I
personal
agree.
perspective of things. But I think yes, and that is the point. The point is that this is a Captain America who speaks to someone else.
Yeah.
It's not always it's not always the same voice who needs to be spoken to, who needs to be lifted up. And right now, there are a wide range of people, and I'm so excited based on this show for the diversity that is surging through the MCU going forwards. We have Shang-Chi, we have the Eternals, we are carrying on with Black Panther, we've got Black Widow. All these sorts of movies, I think, are the way. The way.
I want to talk about one line in that speech that made me genuinely go, that's it, that's exactly what's wrong. When he talks about the fact that obviously they're making decisions and stuff like that, he says, how many times when you're making these decisions, who's surrounding you? Is it the people who these decisions are going to affect, or is it more people like you? Yeah. And that one line encapsulates the issues that we find in power, in any power place. You've got people around you who are in the same position as you, and so don't understand the effect this is going to have on anyone else.
It encapsulates all those things, and I hate this argument. We see this argument in politics all the time, and it's an extension of this. And I think I've talked about this on the show before, but it's that idea of people use it with racism and homophobia all the time. It's like, well, I can't be a racist because I've got a black friend. I can't be homophobic because I've got a gay friend.
Yeah.
And what I think the extension is of that is we have people of different walks of life in power. Yes, we do. There are people in the British government, in the US government, who are not just white old men. That's true. You're not wrong, but they are not having the lived experience because of the position they're in. They might never have had that lived experience because if they're in Parliament, it's likely, and the majority of them do, come from upper class, middle class backgrounds who don't know what it's like. And that's not to say they can't empathise or anything like that, but it's that point of, are you always thinking about the person this affects? Is that your main concern, or is your main concern how this affects you and your career? Are you looking out for number one, or literally everyone else?
Yeah. Right.
The suit looks boss.
Well, okay, so I want to say one criticism that I have of this episode before we get into. We'll
what's
go
your
character
term?
by character. So before
Can
we
I
go
guess?
into that,
Can I guess what your criticism is?
go on then.
Is it someone should turn the lights on?
No, well that's so. I want to see the suit in a day before I properly look at it because it's because of how dark it was. Yeah, the white stood out a fair bit more, and it looked almost like it had too much white on it. But I've seen concept art and pictures and stuff, and it doesn't look like that. So I'll wait and see for that. No, my criticism comes in the fact that there was 5 endings.
Oh,
I kept waiting.
5?
I was
I
like,
thought there was 50.
I was watching it, going, "Is this the end now?" I think it ended on it had the Isaiah Bradley bit, and I was like, "This is a great way. This is exactly how it should end." And I literally said those words. This is exactly how it should have ended, and then it went to another one. I was like, "For God's sake!"
You've missed one. So actually, when Falcon's there on the night of the crime, the guy says the guy's still in the Hudson. Can you help us take him out? And then Sam flies off, and the show ends. And then it starts up again. You were right. There's so many endings, and I can't. Speak
and I get the reason for it. I get why you want to tie up loose ends, and I love especially when I saw the Isaiah Bradley one. I went, yeah, no, that's 100% worth putting in there.
So I can't speak to how experienced these writers are because I can't. I've looked at what they've done before, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I wonder if this is an inexperienced thing. How many things? Because we know Marvel likes to sort of pluck people from obscurity. How many things they've worked on? Because
pluck me.
Both speaking from a writer's perspective, the hardest thing is to pick an ending.
Yeah.
And sort of go like, but I also like this bit. But then this bit. But then that bit. But then that bit. And it's like you just end up with all of them, and it sort of ends 50 times. And there's lots of movies out there, lots of television shows that do it. And that's not to say they're bad writers. It's just one of those things that I think you learn. And I don't think
and none of those scenes shouldn't none of those scenes were bad. I liked, and all of them added something. It's just that all of them ended on a
question.
It's kind of like in music. So in music, you'll have a bit at the end where it sounds like an end, and then carries on, and it frustrates an audience because it's when do I applaud? And like we had it in theatre. I think our lecturers used to say, I thought I was supposed to applaud them because that felt like the end.
Yeah.
And I think it was just that moment. I don't know. I understand why you want all that in, because if we were to go to the next one and we didn't have the comeuppance, we didn't have the redemption in many ways for John Walker, and then we saw him and like, oh, how did he get there? Or we saw anything like that. I think we would have had those questions, but there's a way of ending the scenes in particular without it feeling like it's the end of the show.
Yeah. Shall I tell you something that was bad? And I made no apology for being bad.
Yeah.
Post-credit scene could have just been another ending. The post-credit scene with Sharon Carter getting and being like, "Look, I'm evil. I'm more evil now. Okay, I don't care."
We'll start with Sharon Carter because
like my problem with Sharon. Okay, she's evil. I get it. She was wrong. It was so blatantly obvious that it felt like a trick, but it was going to be her. And then it was her, and then they said, well, she's evil now, and then did a post-credit scene which was, well, she gets her pardon, but I'm still evil. And I just don't really understand what the point of it was.
Well, that post-credits, especially for me, kind of undermined her motivation. So the reason why she was the power broker, and this was almost so I remember discussing it with my partner, she was saying to me, like, she was one of the people who was like, I want her to be the power broker. But I was like, but it feels weird for her character. I then understood the whole idea of her motivation was the fact that she was wronged by these people, she was cast out by them, and thus this was the only way she could survive. Okay. For them to then get pardoned and still do it feels like, okay, are you just being a dick for being a dick's sake now? Because and then my partner then said she feels weird because of the fact that the power broker originally was like almost anti-heroic at points because we didn't see much villainy from them. But then her being an outright villain almost feels like, well, she's a Carter. You're kind of disrespecting the Carter name here, and I don't like that. And I agree with her on that. I completely think that it felt odd seeing a Carter being inherently evil, not like anti-hero, inherently evil.
On that point, I found something quite poetic in it. which might not make sense, but you have, if you take Captain America 2 as a movie, yeah. You have Cap and his sidekick. You have a bad guy and you have a love interest. All the sidekick, the bad guy and the love interest are now in this movie, except they've all swapped roles. The sidekick is now Cap, the villain is now the sidekick, and the love interest is now the villain. And they've all fitted into other people's roles. And I do like this sort of poeticism as the Winter Soldier steps onto the right side of things. Sharon Carter goes back. But what I do think is going on, I've seen this doing the rounds, and I wish they'd have just revealed it, if this is true, is that she's a Skrull. And that is why she's acting so at odds with the character. Because you're right, she does just a complete Yui, and it doesn't make any sense. And I hate when they make people villains because she's evil. So
that
a
would
Skrull
be cool.
clears that for me.
Yeah, that would be very cool. And it would make sense that if she'd be off with Nick Fury because she has allegiances to him.
Yeah.
If that's the case, fair enough. I don't know if it will be, but I like that.
No. Personally, I think that C was a reshoot. Not the pardon bit necessarily, but the bit outside. Specifically because we don't know, it was heavily rumoured that Yelena Belova would have an appearance in this show.
When we saw her
Widow.
removing thing, I thought it was going to be Yelena Belova.
Yeah, and we know that Zemo was supposed to be a man. It was supposed to be some form of setup for Thunderbolts. And so the word on the street, the rumour is basically that will now be the Black Widow post-credit scene, and that Marvel didn't want to introduce Yelena Belova here.
Yeah.
They'd rather wait, which makes sense. So I just think that's why. But I would have rather seen the US agent John Walker scene at the end. And
I think that felt very much like a post-credit scene, to be honest. But moving on to John Walker, I actually somehow, this is credit to Wyatt Russell. First of all, I want to say Wyatt Russell's absolutely incredible because in one series he's made me feel uneasy about. Okay, I quite like this guy. Then absolutely hate him. And then in this last episode, he made a few decisions, and Wyatt Russell, as an actor, made a few decisions on how he reacted to things that made me go, he's learning. And maybe. I do feel like there was an ever so slight redemption in John Walker.
And I will take you at your word, emphasis on the ever so slight. The redemption bit for me, or the clear not a shoehorn, but like bang it over your head.
Yeah.
Redemption bit was where he looks at Carly and Carly runs, and you think he's going to run after Carly, but he's grabbed the van. And yes, good. He's a good guy, but he did also commit cold-blooded murder like a day ago.
Oh yeah, I don't think he's
or
better.
A few days ago.
But he's still a soldier, and he's still fighting for the right side.
Yeah. So my thoughts on John Walker, and I think I've said this before. I can't even remember anymore. But just he is after power. That is his. Not in fact power necessarily, but status and title and respect.
Yeah.
He's sort of a born and bred military boy, and so he considers the greatest honour to be the highest rank. Mm-hmm. And I think you now have this new character called Val, who comes in and is doing the exact same thing in terms of giving him the power and status with this US agent title, and that's all he cares about. He's not actually that interested in, maybe this is a bit evil. Why am I wearing black, perhaps? Yeah. He's just sort of going along with things because he feels loved. And coincidentally, I don't know if you've seen The Boys.
I haven't, no.
But for those of you that have seen The Boys, I'm seeing huge similarity between the sort of appreciation that Homelander requires to survive, it seems, and that he needs sort of acknowledgement as being a great hero. John Walker needs exactly the same acknowledgement as a good guy and as a great guy and as deserving to continue, when he's yet to really display anything. Obviously, we didn't see all of his previous achievements. He's not displayed a behaviour that would be that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I completely agree. And I think he's a complete contrast to then the next character I want to talk about, of Isaiah Bradley. who
Yes.
is not after that. He's not after the recognition. He's not after the respect. He's after just being allowed to live, being allowed to be who he is and be left alone in many ways. And I think the relationship we got between him and Sam was brilliant. And to be honest, that was a tearjerker for me, seeing his reaction to the Isaiah Bradley sort of statue in the Captain America Museum, and the description of obviously what he's done and stuff. That made me well up. It was brilliant, and it was exactly what he deserved and exactly what he needed. And I think honestly the writers need to be commended for righting a wrong, as he says in the thing, of just exactly what I think a lot of people are learning in World War II, and when they're learning about stuff like that now, is that there was a lot of black people who died and didn't get the respect and stuff they deserved. So to see that happen in this was brilliant.
So in regards to Isaiah Bradley, my favourite, a completely unspoken moment that not everyone has noticed, but I immediately noticed. You see him before the statue or any of that. It's the day after Sam's done his big speech on TV, and it is Sam comes to visit Isaiah Bradley, and he is gardening in the daytime.
Yeah.
Significant because in the previous episode he doesn't go out in the day. He says he can't because he's scared that he'll be seen and found and what might happen to him.
Yeah.
And just Sam going on telly and appearing as Captain America has given him the confidence and faith that he is safe and can do that. And I think of all the things, that was so touching because it's the little change that it's made to his life. That he's just going to go outside. He didn't want any more than that. But that's what he's got. And then, you have the statue and the speech, and we're getting a true, well, not really true, but getting some form of recognition. He deserves a whole lot more than that, obviously. But just that little thing which probably made all the difference to him. Yeah. And maybe his grandson, or not his grandson.
Yeah, grandson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patriot. I think that's definitely, I think with the rumoured Captain America 4 being made and stuff, I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more of, say, Torres and Patriot, who we won't talk about too much here, but who I definitely think will be featuring, at least in that, maybe in a second season, if they do that. It'd be weird if they did a movie and a second season, so I'm waiting to find about that. So, on to probably the last two people ready to talk about. We'll go Bucky first. And for me, Bucky's emotional journey throughout this has been a roller coaster, but one that, for someone who's so, I'd happily say I'm so emotional. It's been so I empathise quite a lot with Bucky and seeing him go through a lot, and it's nice to see the little things. And Sebastian Stan as an actor really allows me to watch him and feel what he's feeling. The slight smirks, the freeness he has in his body posture and stuff like that. I think as a performance, this series, Sebastian Stan's really shown why he's so revered as an actor. And I think, honestly, all of his crossing off the list, him talking to Nagasaki and stuff like that, it was just so that I think, honestly, it was the perfect ending for the Winter Soldier and the perfect beginning of Bucky in this new life.
For me, yes, we know why Falcon and Winter Soldier were paired up. They were both sort of Steve's best friends. But for me, this show has highlighted a much more clear reason as to why, after having seen the show, of why you'd pair these two up. And the whole show, they've come at it from very different perspectives and ended up in the same position, being self-acceptance. Yeah. With Bucky physically and clearly attempting to make amends and knowing he's wrong, and Sam not even realising of a question. He doesn't think there's an issue of self-acceptance. He thinks everything is fine, and it's only until we get later where these things are pointed out to him, but Bucky's pointed out that he's not doing things for anyone else, he's doing them for himself, that they actually reach that sort of calm and that peace within themselves. Yeah,
and I think Sam being, I think I don't know whether they knew this when they did The Winter Soldier as a movie, but the fact that Sam is a counselor and someone who talks to people and has that side of him means that having the Winter Soldier he's now no longer brainwashed and now he's having to come to terms with this. Having those two paired up is just perfect. Honestly, I think it's so good that you would almost assume that they knew this was good. They knew where they were going with the Falcon and Winter Soldier back when they introduced the Winter Soldier back in the second Captain America that long ago, because it works so perfectly.
One thing I'm very glad of with Bucky, who is carrying on with a Winter Soldier mantle, and I like the way he's sort of owning it, as in, the Winter Soldier has made amends, so I'm now able to. He doesn't have to pretend to be someone else. He is the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But he's a Winter Soldier who works for good. But just the way that we've moved on from this sort of back and forth of mind control, because from the moment he returns in Winter Soldier, you then have Civil War and they have to fight him for a bit, and then you have he's off the table for a bit, and then he's in Endgame, and then we finally made it to here where we are done. He is clean, he is good, and we can just actually move forwards and really sort of see Bucky be the man he always wanted to be, without the guilt and weight of all the wrongdoings that were out of his control. And Jesus, like saying like it was my fault that he killed his son. Maybe just reference the fact that you were under mind control and it wasn't really your fault.
Yeah.
It frustrates me so much. He was going around like telling people he did all this. I'm like, yes, I know you feel like you did it, but you
he
didn't
remembers
do it.
doing it all. I think that's the difference, and I think that's why he has to say I did it, because in terms of a healing process, he needs to himself come over it, not necessarily come clean about it all, but he needs to be able to live with the fact that he witnessed these things happen.
Maybe.
But anyway, let's move on to the man of the hour, Captain America.
Gosh. I'm so happy.
Oh,
he's so beautiful.
The suit's brilliant, and you were right. We did see it pretty much straight off the bat.
I thought we would. I couldn't see them holding out. I'm very glad. The only thing I'm annoyed about is we didn't see it in a box. I was just really excited to see it in that open box.
It'd have been very Spider-Man, wouldn't it? But I like how it's Wakanda. I think that's a brilliant way of doing it. Anthony Mackie needs some kind of recognition for that. That speech, I know we've spoken about it before, but that speech was just mesmerising. And I think what it is about it is what he's saying. He's bringing that personal experience that he would have outside of acting, of just being a black man, and he can actually, he is Captain America now. Just like we saw with Chadwick Boseman, he was like, I am a superhero, and that means other kids who are like me can look at me and go, I can do that. He's doing the same thing. It's why Chadwick Boseman's Chadwick Boseman's performance was so powerful, and it's why Anthony Mackie's so good at it, and it's brilliant. It really is, and I think he was the right man for the job. He is the smartest person I've seen in a stressful situation when he's trying to avoid getting hit by a helicopter blade, to put it that way. But
I love
the problem solving, the problem solving, the use of things, the way that he thinks about minimizing casualty rather than just trying to get a job done. He is Captain America, all in, without a question. And hats off to him, he's brilliant.
So one of my other favourite subtle details within this episode, so shout out to you, cinematographer, because I see you and you're smart, which is the majority of scenes in which you see Sam Wilson in his Captain America costume are either lit in blue, red, or both blue and red.
Yeah.
From the very moment you see him come into that red room at the start to the end where he delivers that entire speech surrounded by the blue and red of flashing sirens.
Yeah.
It is a genius idea because it highlights the patriotism of that character. And I think so importantly at a time like this, the need to recognise what good patriotism can be, as opposed to blind ideological patriotism which serves a flag as opposed to the people that the flag live under.
Yeah.
And Sam represents that precisely. He is one of the people, who will listen to the people, even
Yeah.
though he's no longer one of them. He
Well, I
will
think-
now stay listening.
I think so there's two bits of cinematography, but I'll talk about the one that you just said there. It's the idea, that last scene where he's literally surrounded by red and blue. I think it's also poignant that those red and blues are from police cars.
Yeah.
There's a black man being lit up by police, you know, and yet he's on the right side. And I think that's as blunt and as much as people who obviously think that this is wrong, that he's Captain America, might look at it and going, oh, it's just, you know, in your face. It's a good point. The whole idea of that whole speech is saying, look, you're in the same position now that we were. Can you empathise with us now? Because look, you know, around us, these people were called terrorists, and he mentions thugs, and I think there you just see, well, yeah, it's the same thing. You didn't once try and listen to these people and find out why they had so many people on their side. You didn't once listen to them, and you just told them they were wrong and told them they were terrorists and killed them for it. And I think and that leads to the next little bit of cinematography of him bringing down Carly, looking angelic.
Yes.
An angel, and let's put it out there, you know, I'm happy to say it, a black angel. Like, you don't see it as ever. Like, even in film, you don't see that. And the fact that it was there was, beautiful.
So, obviously we haven't seen a huge amount of Falcon in the movies prior, but we have had an entire series of him as a Falcon, and I think it's a clear choice that we've never seen, especially in this series, Falcon portrayed angelically before this moment.
Yeah.
And I think it is a sign of a turning point in the way he is viewed now that he is Captain America. He's no longer, as everyone keeps calling him, Black Falcon. He is Captain America, not Black Captain America, not Falcon, not Black Falcon. He is Captain America, just as Steve Rogers was, and just as I'm sure there will be people after him, he is, and no one will ever sort of take that away. I think one of the things that's gone over a lot of people's heads, seemingly who just haven't listened to the words in what he's saying, is so Isaiah Bradley is now infamous quote of saying they will never let a black man be Captain America, and I could fill a novel with the amount of people I've seen explaining how he's wrong because they've let Sam be Captain America. And I think there's a few important things. Is the government doesn't own the shield.
Yep.
That was made clear to us, meaning that they have had no input on him as Captain America. They didn't choose him, and they haven't allowed him to be it. We just haven't seen him if they will try and stop him. I think the next most important point is he says it in his speech. He can still feel the judgment. Yep. It's not done. There's just nothing they can do about it. They can't stop him because they're not going to shoot Captain America. They're not going to hurt him. But if he might have been in a different costume, we might be looking at an entirely different story.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think also the fact that the Captain America suit for the black man was not made by America. So they didn't even give him the suit. They didn't give him the suit. And I think that's the thing, is that you go, he's not being allowed to be Captain America here. It's just no one can say no to him. And that's the point. And Captain America should be like that. Captain America should be separate. And, in many ways, they didn't make Steve Rogers Captain America because actually they said to him he needs to be a dancing monkey over on the sidelines. He went, no, screw this, I'm going to be Captain America. And by doing that, they went, all right, well, we got to work with you now. And I think it's the same thing. It's an incredibly important piece of film. I'd put it as film as in just in general, that we see this ending to this series, because to anyone who has watched this is going to be a really important, just the same as like Black Panther was. It's a turning point in the MCU, but it's also a turning point in how the MCU portrays black characters. But to anyone who's not watched this, they're going to go into the next film and you're just going to have to deal with the fact that Captain America is going to be black.
Yeah.
And in the same way they did.
Yeah. This is a turning point in media, I think. I think the way we are starting to see black voices portrayed within media as being able to sort of there is a lot of film out there, and there was a statistic when Black Panther started being released, but the only movies with a budget over, I think it was 50 million, that had ever been made with a black lead or a predominantly black cast were about slavery. And that was the only movies that had ever been made until Black Panther came along. But I think this sort of changes that narrative again, that black voices don't need a white hero to come and justify their existence. In all these films, a film I love that I know is somewhat controversial being The Help. As a great history lesson, you have, again, a white character sort of being the hero of the day. And it's more complicated, but they're always sort of backed up by this. And I think in Black Panther we saw that no one comes to save them; they save them. Yes, there's help. It's not an exclusive club, but they are leading their own story. And you see Captain America here again leading himself. He's not making Winter Soldier do half a speech with him. He's doing it. That's his vision. That's his point. Which brings us beautifully onto the future of this character. Now, there's been rumour of a second season. There's been rumour of this, rumour of that. I think there are two things that are going to happen. It is now official that we will be getting Captain America 4 from Malcolm Spellman, who is the showrunner for this, and the writer of the fourth episode, whose name escapes me, featuring Captain America featuring Anthony Mackie as Captain America.
Yep.
The other thing that was heavily rumoured was a TV show sequel. Now, obviously, if we're getting the movie, like you said, why would we get the TV show? I think the TV show sequel is likely Thunderbolts.
That'd be cool.
Which will feature a series of characters focusing on Zemo, who might also appear. So maybe US Agent will be in that as well. So that's why they would title it. They would consider it a sequel to this series.
Yep.
Because it features so many characters. Potentially that's Sharon Carter's next appearance as well.
Yeah.
Which would be
that's
very
what I was
exciting
going to ask, is where does the Power Broker fit in? Because if we have... I think the issue we've now got is the fact that if you had Sharon Carter as the Power Broker in Captain America, the film Captain America, there's going to be a hell of a lot of the audience is going to be lost.
Yeah. I think she's a Skrull. And I think in whatever she's in next, she'll be revealed to be a Skrull. So that's the way you do. That's the way you quick explain it.
I think
if Captain America 4, you just show
if
green
Marvel
at the start.
aren't gonna, I think if Marvel are gonna say, okay, we don't like the idea of Sharon Carter being a villain.
Yeah.
Maybe they play it off for a bit. Maybe they do the Thunderbolts and it's still not revealed, and people might have a bad reaction to it. If people have a bad reaction to it, they have the option there to say, "Oh, she was a Skrull the entire time."
I just think she will be anyway. I think they must be. Marvel's got these 5-10 year, probably 100-year plans.
Yeah.
I think they know what she is and where it's going, and I don't think they really change based on how people are going to respond, because normally people see. Well, I again talking to myself, I was very apprehensive of the show because it looked like some weird comedy drama mashup that just wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Quite as it should. And it did, because it wasn't. The trailers weren't particularly representative of the series as a whole.
Yeah.
And seeing that sort of thing, and again, have faith in Marvel. Faith in Feige is the word, and I think he knows what he's doing, and whatever is happening, even if we don't like it now, we're sad that Mephisto or whoever was in WandaVision or whatever was happening there, something's going to happen. It's going to happen. And what that means is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in Doctor Strange at me, basically. So
Alfred Molina's just kind of just doesn't care.
Oh,
he spoiled a lot.
Might have given. Who was the other person? There was another person in Marvel who just said, Russell Crowe is in. We won't spoil it.
Oh yeah, he's going to be in Thor.
All right, just spoil it then. I'm not deleting that. Sucks for you guys who didn't want spoilers.
He was only saying he's going to be a minor role though, so I think it's like Matt Damon's.
Now he's a minor role. You know more than me now. You're actually giving me more information than I knew before. Wow.
I think it'll be Matt Damon level, sort of like how Matt Damon was in Thor.
Why are you spoiling Thor Ragnarok now? You're spoiling both of them.
Deal with it.
Just stop talking. All right, okay, you've said it now, so I have to move on. That's the phrase that means you can't argue, because I don't want to at you. I don't want to start that fight. Anyway, thank you very, very much for tuning in. I think it's clear to see that we both adored this show, varying degrees and varying reasons, but it was good. And Disney Plus is off to is an absolute roll, and
Yeah.
Shang-Chi looks excellent, where he bloody kicks those two dudes on the face of a train. I'm so excited. I was playing that bit on loop for a bit. I was literally kept clicking back.
I like how they've made the 10 rings his armbands rather than actual rings. That's a good idea.
Black Widow. Oh no, in fact, the next Marvel property we'll be taking a look at is Loki, which releases in June, and then we will be shortly followed by Black Widow, What If, and then Shang-Chi in September. So Marvel is gearing right back up. Given these past two shows have been phenomenal, I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait to see more. So we shall see you next time on the Two Dudes Movie Podcast. Find us on Instagram, find us on Twitter, find us on Facebook. We are on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast. We love hearing from you, so leave a comment on any of those three. Give us a direct message. Do whatever you want. Live free, be happy, and subscribe to the Two Dudes Movie Podcast. See you later.
See you soon.